This program proudly brought to you by Southern Cross Pitch and Putt and Henry's Family Restaurant. This week, and the Canberra Cannons are on the road to West Sydney and Townsville. Hitting the court for the first time, new man Demetrius Montgomery.
I'm down to play for you guys.
Round 16, and the NBL had some of the toughest games this year. And we have the highlights.
It penetrates. Oh!
For the best rap in town on the best game around, this is Cannons Courtside.
Quick transition, the quick release, the three-point.
Yes, good morning and welcome to Cannons Courtside. Great to have your company. We do have a packed program today, and we have a very special guest with us today, someone we've not seen this year, but we've seen plenty of in previous years. From the Cannons management, Jerry Lee, welcome.
Thanks, Phil. Pleasure to be here.
Great to have you with us. It's been a tough year, management-wise, hasn't it?
Oh, certainly. There's been some things that haven't quite gone the way we planned, but again, we're preparing now to launch the end of this season and get into the next season.
I guess from about halfway through the season it's been that way, thinking about next year now, hasn't it?
Well, the injuries have also upset that as well, and we've had to make some changes on the run, but certainly we're planning to increase the output of the team for the next season.
Someone like yourself who's been part of the whole organisation for 20-odd years now, it's been tough, hasn't it? Because, I mean, you've been part of through the successful years in the early 80s, and you know, good year in 88 when you were the coach, and now you've had to go through a time that's been difficult.
Well, we're quite happy that we still have that core base of about 2,000 people that are supporting us. Certainly the media has been good to us over a long period of time, and quite a few sponsors are supporting us. So that's going to hold us together while we have these down patches. And every major professional club goes through good times and bad times, and we just hope we can get back to those good times quickly. People
talk about the game having been in a trough. Do you feel it coming out now?
I do. We had major turnover of players last year, and that's hard to compensate for at any stage for any club. And if we can retain a core of this year's team and add maybe one or two players that can impact on our performances, we should have a good season next year.
Okay, well, let's get back to the present right now, because the Cannons hit the road this weekend, and last night it was the Razorbacks, tonight it's the Crocs, and getting a run is a new man, Demetrius Montgomery.
I'm really looking forward to playing the game here in Australia, because, you know, like I said, I've been over in Spain forever. You know, I just heard a lot about Australia. I've seen a lot of games out there in Brisbane, so I'm down to play for you guys.
Over 2 metres tall, and with 4 years in the Spanish second division where he averaged 19 points and 10 rebounds, Demetrius Montgomery is seen by some as a latter-day Emery Atkinson.
He comes with a strength and a physical package that we really lacked around the basket, and you know, the signs of it is like he's very similar to Emery Atkinson. I believe there's a fantastic opportunity for him to step into the fray, bring something different that we haven't had, and hopefully make a contribution that hasn't been seen before, maybe enlighten his opportunities for the future in the NBL.
Demetrius has joined the team as a short-term replacement for the injured Nate Green, and will add some much-needed bulk to the Cannons' front line. The power forward from Lynn University in Florida has only been in the country for 6 weeks. He trialled with the Bullets briefly before answering Carl Bruton's SOS following the loss of Troy and Nate. After his stint here with the Cannons, Demetrius is likely to play for Geelong or Mildura in the ABA. But for now, his focus is on the next couple of weeks with the Canberra Cannons.
I'm going to try my best with these guys, you know, because, like I said, they are a bunch of nice guys. The coach is nice. They give me an opportunity to show my stuff, you know, give me a lot of exposure. So I'm going to try to take advantage of it. You know, I'm not going to let it slip through my fingers, you know, so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Well, after the break, we'll see if the addition of Demetrius was enough to turn things around for the Canberra Cannons. But before we do that, my special guest is Jerry Lee today, and I want to take a look at Jerry Lee in action. I mentioned he was part of the team A championship player in 83, 84, coached the team to a victory in 1988, so he's part of all 3 championships for the Canberra Cannons. But let's go back a few years and take a look at Jerry Lee in action, because it was quite a sight, let me tell you.
That was very suspect defence. They conceded that shot at Jerry Lee's. I think that's dangerous tactics.
Peachin looks dangerous. Ellis.
It's high.
Yes!
But he fast.
20 seconds remaining.
6 seconds. Pass. 3 points. 1 point. 1 second.
6 seconds to go. They haven't stopped the clock. The clock didn't stop after the score. 2 seconds left. The Cannons have won it. Out of it. The Geechin under the basket. That's down. 3 seconds to go. A 3-pointer. They need a 3-pointer. That'll be the ball game.
And we'll be back with more Cannons Courtside in just a few moments' time.
Blades Menswear, the world's finest clothes. Versace Classic, Hugo Boss, Louis Vuitton, Tombolini. Blades Menswear, simply the world's finest clothes.
Welcome back to Cannons Courtside. Last night the Canberra Cannons played West Sydney for the first time this season. And the Razorbacks' form has been impressive over the last couple of games, with wins over Adelaide and Melbourne, and there's still a mathematical possibility of making the final six. Well, Canberra went into the game a little under strength, with Nate Green and Troy Pillen sidelined through injury. But with new man Demetrius Montgomery suiting up, the Cannons were looking to upset the more fancied Pigs. Here are some of the highlights from that game. Well, it was a game that didn't start well for the Canberra Cannons. Willie Simmons making a nice block there to send David Patrick away, and then the follow-up from Big Willie. But, Jerry, this was a game that was dominated in the early part of the game by this man, Yaya Dia.
Well, he's dangerous because he's a big man, very big for this league, and he can shoot well outside, as you just saw, but he's very dominant inside. And obviously the centers for the Cannons had trouble controlling him in the early game.
Yes, well, Yaya had something like 14 points in the first quarter, which really put his stamp on the game. Jason Wells was the only regular contributor for the Canberra Cannons, and Jason Wells had a very good game and scored 26 points and added 16 rebounds as well. But Simon Dwight with 20 for the Razorbacks was the difference, because with a guy like Derek Rucker not scoring particularly well, he hit 3 of 14 or something like that. They had contributors from Simon Dwight and Yaya Dia, and not enough contributors to the Cannons.
Well, Dwight always seems to play well against his old team, the Cannons, and he's another one that can play inside and outside and is difficult to cover. So him and John really sort of were the difference.
Well, it was a 16-point win to the Razorbacks there last night, and I guess going into the game, that's what you'd expect, given the injury problems of the Cannons and the way the Razorbacks seem to be on the rise at the moment.
Well, the Cannons were right in it again, right into the early part of the fourth quarter, and it just seems to be that last stage where our inexperience and depth hurt us, and we were 6 or 8 points behind going into the final 10 minutes. So at the end it blew out a bit, and that seems to be a common trend.
This team will be known as a very good three-quarter team.
Unfortunately, yes, but if they can still persevere, and like I said, if we can make 1 or 2 little tweaks for next season, add a player inside and outside, and we might be right up there in the top 6.
Well, the last time Towns were in Townsville, near their opponents tonight, Coach Ian Stacker said after the game that the Cannons were a team that the Crocs should never lose to. Now, Jerry, they were fairly inflammatory sort of comments, I guess.
Well, it's a sign of a confident coach, certainly. But you're right, it's the sort of thing you usually keep behind closed doors, and you try to respect your opponent. It should give our fellas a little bit of added incentive and motivation to play well tonight. Yes,
well, I just noticed in the paper this morning that Tony Jensen said he's taken the clipping out of the paper with him to try and give him some inspiration for this game. I guess anything you use at this stage of the year.
Well, I hope he blows it up, actually, and puts it on the wall in big form, but all the players should get motivated for this one.
And even Robert Rose, who's a former Cannon, said after that game, even when they were down by 5 points to the Cannons last time at the Palace, up till three-quarter time, he said this is a team we should never be down to by 5 points at any stage of the game.
Rob's never backward in coming forward with the comments, and he believes in his own abilities and his team's abilities, so he just made that comment, again, being confident in what he thinks his team can do.
Any chance the Cannons against the Townsville Crocs tonight in Townsville, which is a very hostile place to play?
It is, but they have a few little hiccups to overcome themselves. Sam McKinnon won't play, I'm led to believe, and he's been out for a couple of weeks, so they suffer a little bit from his absence. And they have a new import, so he'll have a similar situation like Demetrius, where he has to compensate for the new refereeing, new standard of play, and a new country. So they could have a few problems to overcome.
Demetrius, by the way, only scored 3 points last night at West Sydney, but as we've seen so many times over the years, it just takes a little while for some people to slot in, doesn't it?
That's the nature of coming in late in the season. You know, I feel for the fella because it's not an easy task, and he doesn't want to try to come in and dominate because that sometimes works in a reverse effect as well. So he's trying to fit in slowly and yet still do it as rapidly as possible. Interesting
situation for him because he's only here for a couple of games with the Cannons, and I guess he's auditioning for a place in someone's team at some stage.
Well, again, that's why tonight's probably critical, and if he has a big one tonight, then that'll go a long way towards his future.
Well, here's what Coach Cal Bruton thinks about the Crocs match coming up tonight.
I think they've backed it up with a bit of war words by saying they should beat us any place, any time, and now the timing has come. We're very aware of Rob Rose and what he can do. I think in 3 quarters, as the league is saying, we're the best 3-quarter team in the country. You know, but we have to find someone prepared to step up in the 4th quarter, and who knows, that could be Demetrius, maybe Paul Vandenberg. You know, we got these guys sort of here to say, hey, you want to play in this league, you got to show people that you can step up and be counted. So hopefully one of those guys, or both of them, and the rest will come to the party. It's very, very tough on their home court, and particularly with all the fans behind the bench screaming abuse and yelling. So like Perth, they've got probably 2 of the best crowds in the country, along with Adelaide. We just have to go ahead and say, hey, it's us against the rest, and let's be prepared for the test.
There's one thing about Cal Bruton. He goes into every game really thinking he can win, regardless of what the situation is. You've worked with him all year. I said to him a couple of weeks ago, I think he's the most positive bloke that I've ever met in my life.
Well, considering the circumstances we've had to overcome this season, I think he does remain confident and positive. But that's his style. He's always been that way ever since he's come into the league way back in the early 80s, so, or even 70s, sorry, late 70s. But it's important with a young team like this that he does keep that confidence, because it's going to be an instructional year to try to direct him to improve enough for next season.
You've coached the team. I think you've just played every role in the team. We've even seen you out there wiping the floor on plenty of occasions. But in his situation right now, would you be this positive?
You try to be. I mean, again, none of us know what's going on at training, and I think a lot of people forget that there's a lot of work done behind the scenes. And yes, the games you remain really positive, but the instruction comes at the training times, and that's when he might lose his temper a few times and get stuck into some players that maybe aren't performing. But yet, publicly and at the games times, you've got to be confident, because that's when the performance counts.
One of the guys who's really performed this year is Jason Wells, and last week Jason collected another MVP award for his 36 points against the Kings. But as Nick Edwards discovered, points and awards are not the only things that Jason collects.
Jason, looking at those shoes, I can't believe anyone could have this many pairs of shoes. How many have you got here?
31 here, mixed up with basketball shoes, a couple dress shoes, couple casual shoes, couple running shoes up top. So that's the different categories they fall into.
How many here would actually hit the court, and how many are just for show?
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe 7 or 8 different pairs would actually hit the floor. My favorite basketball pair would probably be this pair. My favorite running pair will probably be this pair here with a little embroiderment on there.
Now, you were saying you colour code them on the court. Just general wear, do you colour code them off the court with your clothes?
Definitely. I can show you a quick example. Here with this shoe, I can grab same color Nike t-shirt, throw that together with any type of jean.
Now, have you reached your limit, or you still want to buy some more?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, just as long as they keep coming out, I'm gonna find a way to match them up and find a way to get them, hopefully.
Want to see the Cannons' next home game for free and get a free meal from Henry's Family Restaurant? You can simply by entering our competition and go in the draw for our grand prize of airfares, accommodation and tickets to an NBL Grand Final. Go to the Cannons homepage and register. It's that easy. Here is this week's question.
Yes, and that competition really hotting up, so make sure you get your entries in. Well, to the WNBL now, and last week the Capitals held out a very determined Australian Institute of Sport team and moved into equal top spot with Sydney. Now they're on the road too this weekend. Last night they played the Perth Breakers and recorded their 6th straight win with a 19-point win over the Perth Breakers, and that is a very good result because that's a game that the Capitals were worried about before they move on tomorrow. Tomorrow they travel to Dandenong to play the Rangers for the last time before the finals. Dandenong have beaten Canberra twice already this season, so a win for the Capitals is crucial for them to secure the important top 2 finish.
This really is a playoff for us. I mean, if we can get the win, it gets us 2 games clear of Dandenong, who we can't afford to be level with on the table. They have the split over us, so we really need to be a game or 2 clear to make sure that, you know, we don't want to come equal second with them. It means we get 3rd. We're a better team without Lauren scoring 20 if everyone else is getting their double figures, and we're much harder to defend that way. You know, who are you going to leave? Go double Lauren. Who are you going to leave open? Sharp, Sandy, Veal. You know, we've got a lot more offensive weapons now that are stepping up and making it happen. So I think that is much harder to defend than the Lauren Jackson show. Just want to win it. That's the thing. From now on in, it doesn't matter how much we win by. We want to just win the games.
And the Capitals return to Canberra next week when they play the Australian Institute of Sport at the Institute on Friday. Well, back to the NBL, and last week's win by Sydney may have made the playoffs a realistic possibility for the Kings, particularly after the Tigers lost to the Titans. In Adelaide, it was an overtime affair between the 36ers and the Hawks, and up north the Crocs were almost shot down by the Bullets. Here's Nick Edwards with his wrap from round 16 in the NBL.
Townsville started last weekend looking the goods against the injury-riddled Bullets despite Sam McKinnon sitting out with his injured knee. Brisbane kept in touch mainly through the efforts of Simon Curl, who collected 40 points and even briefly captured the lead with a couple of minutes remaining. It was not enough for the Bullets, with the Crocs' Robert Rose again steadying the ship. Townsville eventually winning 109 to 104.
It was important to, because Leroy had been playing well over the last 5 games, important to try to shut him down. Actually, their perimeter players have been playing well. So, but it was my job on Leroy tonight to mainly just deny him the ball, don't let him touch it. And I think I did that pretty well.
The Tigers-Titans derby looked like being a no contest early on, with Jason Smith shooting the Titans to a commanding lead early in the first quarter. The Tigers clawed their way back into the game, mainly through the efforts of Olympian Mark Bradkey and Leonard Copeland, who was playing his 300th game. The game finally came to life in the final quarter, with Andrew Gaze finding his range and Victoria's Jason Smith answering at the other end. Jason and the Titans eventually prevailing 86 to 84. In Adelaide, a capacity crowd was treated to a seesawing affair as the Hawks set about winning for the first time in 5 years in Adelaide. For Adelaide, it was a must-win game as they have the toughest road home in the league. Darnell Mee led the home team while Damon Lowry topped for the visitors, and Melvin Thomas was again consistent with 18 points. Charles Thomas had a chance to snatch the game for the Hawks at the end of regulation time, but could only sink one of his free throws. In overtime, it was the home team's Darnell Mee who provided the spark, and the locals finally getting home from the charity stripe, 104 to 98.
And the Hawks reversed the result last night in Wollongong by just 3 points. Let's take a look at the NBL ladder now. And up there on top, Victoria and Perth sharing top spot. Wollongong, they won't go away, will they? They're there as genuine finals contenders on 14 and 5. Adelaide dropped off the pace a little bit. They were my pre-season championship prediction. Townsville, tonight's opponents for the Cannons on 13 and 6, and Sydney make up the 8. Melbourne, they're going to have to do some work to make the top 6, and West Sydney keeping their hopes alive with a win over the Cannons last night. So things really hotting up there in the run to the final 6. Well, next week the Titans are back in town at the AIS Arena, and the Cannons will be in for another tough one. We saw them here just a couple of weeks ago, Jerry, and they look very, very tough at this stage of the season.
Well, they're my tip for the finals winner. But I think just like the Townsville game tonight, there'll be some spiteful instances in that game because, of course, the Nate Green incident, and there was some back play pushing and shoving by Chris Anstey and Jordy Cullen. So I think there'll be some interest in that game.
Interest, and I'm interested in who the referees are for this game because let's face it, the last game I didn't think was particularly well refereed. I think the referees lost control a little bit at one stage of the game, and they'll need a couple of good, strong referees there next week.
Well, Victoria is known as a defensive specialist team, and this year they've added some offensive punch to it, and that's why I've sort of tipped them myself as an NBL champion. But you're right, they play a physical game. They've got a lot of big bodies to throw around, and of course our team doesn't quite have the size, and so we're trying to push around and show what strength we do have by bumping cutters and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see who we do get, because we tend to get similar referees game in and game out. I'd like to see some changes if we could get them.
Yeah, I think they can win the title, but it depends who referees the finals, the way the Titans play the game.
Well, that'll be down the track a ways, but certainly that's always an issue and always will be an issue.
Yes, well, Jerry Lee has been our guest today, and we're very pleased to have him here. And Jerry, you're welcome back at any time, and good luck for the rest of the season.
It's been a pleasure, Phil.
Well, he top scored for the Cannons last week and did well again last night. He has the best shoe collection in the team. Here's a sample of Jason Wells in action again in this week's Play of the Day, and we'll see you next week.